Mom, look at this. If we don't do something now, this will spiral into something we can't recover from. We need to leave immediately. This happened on the day I visited my sister to celebrate the birth of her third child at the age of 53. My sister had one son and one daughter, but her son had passed away and her daughter was battling illness. I heard she decided to have a third child, hoping this one would grow up healthy. I wanted to celebrate wholeheartedly with that wish in mind. However, the moment I arrived at the hospital where my sister was staying, everything changed suddenly. My 15-year-old daughter urgently dragged me outside and told me those shocking words. Trying to calm my visibly distressed daughter, I took the stack of photos she handed me. Deep down, I had always suspected something. But as her sister, I wanted to believe her. After seeing the photos and the accompanying letter, the truth was undeniable. I made up my mind to escape with my daughter and vowed to seek justice against my sister for her crimes. This story begins 10 years ago, back when we were unaware of anything, back when my sister's children were still happy. My name is Sasha James. I live modestly with my daughter Natalie as a single mother. My husband passed away in an accident shortly after Natalie was born. Ever since, I've been raising my precious daughter alone. My greatest source of support during those tough times was my sister's husband, Lance. My sister Mary and Lance had 2 children, Harry, their eldest son, and Lauren, their daughter. Lance not only took care of his own 2 children, but also helped me raise Natalie. He treated Natalie as his own, showing no favoritism. As a result, Natalie grew very close to Harry and Lauren, as if they were siblings. Those days were truly filled with happiness. I'm the big brother, so I'll protect Lauren and Natalie no matter what.
Then we'll protect you when you're in trouble, big brother. Yeah, it's our promise. We'll always help each other out no matter what.
At that time, I believed their beautiful bond would last forever. If there was one thing that bothered me, it was Mary, my sister, and Lance's wife.
Oh my, all 3 of them always look so shabby and poor. It's embarrassing. At least my children should look presentable, or my friends will think I'm poor too.
Mary was always decked out in branded clothing and accessories. She had a terrible habit of overspending since childhood. Even our parents, who used to spoil her, eventually became estranged due to her behavior. After marrying Lance, she began squandering their shared finances. Lance would frequently confront her about her wasteful spending, but it had no effect. You have no right to criticize Natalie's clothes, Mary. Sasha works hard to be frugal and raises Natalie with proper values. If Harry and Lauren can't have better clothes, it's because you're the one wasting our money on brands. Even when Lance confronted her so directly, Mary refused to listen. Instead, she would get defensive and lash out at him.
Oh, so now I'm the bad guy? What a terrible husband you are. Whose fault do you think this is? If you earned more, I wouldn't have to dip into our shared money to live the way I deserve. Harry and Lauren's clothes can wait. If you hated so much, then earn more so I can live comfortably and give the kids what they deserve.
No matter what anyone said, Mary always twisted the arguments to suit her narrative. Her responses were filled with irrational logic and relentless accusations. She always blamed Lance for not earning enough, refusing to acknowledge her own financial irresponsibility. What's worse is that Lance was a hardworking man. He had earned promotions and raises, yet Mary's spending only worsened, leaving no benefit for their kids. Frustrated, I once asked Lance directly if he was happy continuing his marriage. It's true, Sasha. There are a lot of difficult times. But I believe that if I keep trying to communicate with Mary, she'll eventually understand. Despite her flaws, she's my one and only wife, and I love her deeply. His sincere response made me hold my tongue. I didn't want to interfere with his dedication to his marriage. Looking back, I regret not speaking up more forcefully back then. Unfortunately, Lance's belief that Mary would change never came true. Her spending habits only grew worse over time. The breaking point came when Harry got accepted into college. We were all in a celebratory mood, but things took a sharp turn. Something's wrong.
The money I set aside for Harry's tuition, it's gone. Without it, we can't afford to send him to college."
Panic erupted in the house. "Are you sure you didn't put it somewhere else?"
"I'm certain. I kept it in this drawer. We should call the police. It could have been stolen."
The police? That's a bit much, isn't it?
We were shocked by Mary's dismissive attitude. "What are you saying? This is serious. What if someone broke in?" "So what? Dwelling on it won't bring the money back. Harry can just take out a student loan to pay for his tuition." Her irresponsible suggestion infuriated all of us, but we had no time to argue and focused on finding the culprit. Looking back, we should have pressed Mary harder. However, none of us believed she could stoop so low as to steal her own child's tuition money. When the police found no fingerprints or clues, we reluctantly took out a loan for Harry's education.
"I'm sorry, Dad. If I hadn't chosen a private college, we wouldn't need this money. I'll work hard to pay back the loan myself."
Harry blamed himself, even though it wasn't his fault. Mary, on the other hand, gloated.
"See? I told you so. You wasted all that effort, and now you're in debt anyway. If you just focused on making more money, this wouldn't have happened."
Her cruel remarks made my blood boil. She insulted me for being a single mother, calling me pathetic and helpless. It felt like she was mocking my late husband, and I couldn't forgive her. But I knew arguing with her was pointless. Mary would never listen. Just as I was struggling to hold back my anger, Harry spoke up.
"That's enough, Mom. Everyone has been working so hard for me. How can you mock them like this? Don't you feel any remorse? You've always been a little selfish, but I never thought you were this heartless. You say Dad doesn't earn enough, but he works tirelessly. And Aunt Sasha became a single mom because of an accident. How dare you insult her? You're the worst kind of person. I've made up my mind. When I start earning money, I'll never give a penny to you, Mom. I refuse to fund your selfish lifestyle."
Mary was stunned into silence for a moment before flying into a hysterical rage. "How dare you talk to me like that, Harry? You ungrateful, cold-hearted son!" She yelled and ranted, but I can't remember much of it now. After venting, Mary stormed out of the house, presumably to go out and distract herself. Once she left, Harry bowed his head deeply toward me and Natalie.
"I'm sorry for what Mom said. It must have hurt both of you, especially Natalie. I may have said I hate her, but she's still my mom. I can't just abandon her. I just hope this incident will make her reflect and change."
His words were so full of pain that all I could do was comfort him. Even now I wonder what would have happened if we had all found the courage to leave Mary back then. Would things have turned out differently? This incident surrounding Harry's tuition seemed resolved at the time, but it was only the beginning of a nightmare. A few years passed, and I almost forgot about the missing tuition money. Then one evening during dinner, Lance suddenly turned to Mary with a serious expression.
"Mary, you're my beloved wife, and I want to trust you. But I need to ask you something important."
"What is it? You're being weird. If this is about saving money, don't even bring it up. I married you so I wouldn't have to work and could enjoy my life."
Her dismissive tone made Lance, Harry, and even Natalie visibly uncomfortable. Lance sighed deeply before continuing.
"Mary, do you have any secrets you're hiding from me or the family? I'm not talking about spending money. I mean, have you done anything wrong or dishonest? Please, just be honest with me. If you tell the truth now, I can find it in myself to forgive you."
Lance looked at her with a mixture of desperation and hope, but Mary smirked and rolled her eyes. "What nonsense are you spouting now? As if I'd do something wrong. You're really pathetic, you know that? Instead of wasting time accusing me, why don't you go make more money?" She started ranting, her usual defensive pattern, her voice escalating with anger. Lance's face was filled with sadness, but he quietly endured her tirade. Once Mary's outburst subsided, Lance stood up and retrieved an envelope from a drawer.
"I wish you had confessed before I had to do this, but now I have no choice."
He opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of documents.
The title read, Investigation Report. As Lance revealed the report, Mary's confident demeanor crumbled. Her face turned pale, and her hands trembled. Do you remember when Harry's tuition money disappeared? We all searched so desperately to figure out what happened. You told us to drop it, but something about the whole thing felt off to me. I couldn't let it go, so I started investigating on my own. I even hired a private investigator. Mary, I didn't want to believe it, but all evidence points to you.
His voice cracked as he shouted, tears streaming down his face. He looked at her with a mix of heartbreak and anger. Mary, on the other hand, glared at Lance and everyone else in the room. Her children, Lauren and Natalie, began trembling in fear at her intense expression. Fine. Yes, I took the money. I wanted it for myself, for my own enjoyment. Why should I feel guilty about using the money? This is Lance's fault anyway. He doesn't earn enough. And if you two kids didn't need so much, I wouldn't have to do this. Mary's shocking confession left everyone in the room stunned. Why is everyone looking at me like that? Kids are supposed to listen to their parents. So what if I use the money? I'm the parent here. This family is so cold and narrow-minded. How am I supposed to enjoy my life if everyone keeps blaming me for everything? Her words were filled with selfishness, completely ignoring the harm she caused. Seeing Lauren and Natalie visibly shaken, Harry stepped forward to shield them. At that moment, Lance's expression hardened.
If you're so unhappy with this family, Mary, then maybe it's time we part ways. I think we should get a divorce.
His voice trembled, not with fear, but with deep sorrow. It was clear that this decision was tearing him apart. Mary, for the first time, looked genuinely shocked. What? Divorce? Her usual bravado wavered as she stared at Lance.
I've tried my best to support you, Mary. I've worked hard to provide for you, to give you a comfortable life. But it's clear that no matter how much I do, it will never be enough for you. This isn't about money anymore. It's about trust, and you've broken that. I can't keep this family together when you see us only as tools for your own gain.
Lance's voice was steady, but his pain was evident. Everyone in the room could feel the weight of his words. Mary, however, burst into tears and fell to her knees. I'm sorry. Please, Lance, don't leave me. I know I've made mistakes, but I can change. I'll stop spending so much money. I'll be a better wife, a better mother. Just don't divorce me. Her desperate pleas caught everyone off guard. For the first time, she seemed genuinely remorseful. But Lance didn't waver.
Words aren't enough, Mary. You've said you'd change before, but things always return to the way they were. I can't trust you anymore.
Mary continued to sob, clinging to his leg. I mean it this time. Please believe me. The room fell silent. The tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Eventually, Lance sighed and looked at their children.
What do you think? Do you believe your mother is truly sorry?
Harry hesitated, his face full of doubt.
I don't know. She's lied so many times before. But I guess everyone deserves one last chance.
Lauren, who had been crying silently, wiped her tears and spoke up. If Mom really means it, then maybe we can try to fix things. Even Natalie, though visibly shaken, nodded. If she's really sorry, she should prove it. Mary looked at her children with tearful eyes, then back at Lance. I promise I'll change. Please give me one more chance to make things right. After a long pause, Lance relented.
This is your last chance, Mary. From now on, I'll handle all the finances. You'll only spend what I approve, and any breach of trust will result in immediate divorce.
I understand. Thank you for giving me another chance. Over the next few months, Lance strictly managed their finances. Surprisingly, Mary stuck to her word. She stopped overspending and even began treating her children and me with more kindness. For the first time, it seemed like real change was happening. However, looking back now, I realized it was all just a temporary facade. It wasn't long before the nightmare began anew. The first sign of trouble came from Harry. He had been attending college and seemed to enjoy it at first. But soon, things began to change.
I'm sorry, Dad. Lately, I've been skipping classes. I know you took out loans to help me go to college, but I'm falling behind. If this keeps up, I might fail my courses, or even have to drop out."
Harry's health started to decline rapidly. He became bedridden more often than not, unable to attend classes. Despite everyone's support, his condition only worsened.
"This isn't your fault, Harry. Your health is what matters most. You're part of this family, and we'll always stand by you."
Exactly. Please don't blame yourself. Look, I made some porridge for you. Eat this and focus on getting better. Even Mary seemed devoted to taking care of him. What else do you want to eat, Harry? Just let me know, and I'll make anything for you. Natalie and Lauren also stepped in to help. Don't worry, big brother. We'll take care of you, just like you always took care of us. That's right. You're our big brother, and we'll always be here for you. Their support seemed to give Harry a reason to hold on. He often told them about his one remaining goal in life.
"I'll hang in there until you two graduate from elementary school. I want to see you in your middle school uniforms. I might not make it to your high school days, but I'll definitely see you become middle schoolers."
It was a small dream, but one that meant everything to him. Tragically, even this modest wish went unfulfilled. Just a week before Natalie and Lauren's elementary school graduation, Harry's condition worsened. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Despite the doctor's best efforts, the prognosis was grim.
"The doctors say tonight will be critical. They don't think he'll pull through."
Lance's voice was heavy with guilt and despair as he relayed the news.
"I'm sorry, Harry. I failed you as a father. You won't even get to see your sisters graduate."
The family gathered around Harry's bedside, sobbing quietly. Even Mary, who had caused so much pain, appeared genuinely heartbroken. The following morning, Harry passed away. His death certificate offered no clear cause, only noting severe damage to his internal organs. The funeral was small and somber, attended only by close family. Natalie and Lauren cried endlessly, mourning the fact that their beloved brother couldn't see their big day. Mary seemed devastated as well, leading us to believe that perhaps she truly had cared for her son. At the time, none of us suspected her. We laid Harry to rest, thinking the nightmare was over. But things only got worse from there.
"Mary, I understand you're grieving, but your spending is getting out of control again."
I know. But shopping is the only thing that helps me cope with this emptiness." Mary's spending habits returned with a vengeance. She began dipping into the insurance money Harry had left behind. Mom, you're even using Big Brother's insurance money, aren't you? He wouldn't want you to do this. You need to stop before things get worse. Lauren's words fell on deaf ears. Mary continued to spend recklessly, drowning in her grief. At the same time, a new crisis emerged. Lauren's health began to deteriorate. The pattern was eerily similar to Harry's illness. Lance and I were terrified, desperate to save her. Mary, however, seemed almost indifferent. I'm still caring for her, aren't I? I cook for her, clean for her, and nurse her when I'm home. Can't I have a little freedom to relax? Her justification was infuriating, but we couldn't stop her. While Lance, Natalie, and I did everything we could to care for Lauren, her condition continued to decline. One day, her symptoms suddenly worsened, and she was rushed to the hospital. The doctors said it was likely too late to save her. Lauren's sudden downturn left us reeling. As Lance and I held her hands, we prayed for a miracle. But just like Harry, Lauren slipped away from us. Her passing devastated the family. Natalie clung to me, sobbing uncontrollably, while Lance silently grieved. Mary cried too, but her grief seemed hollowed to me. Once again, no clear cause of death could be determined. The only conclusion was that her organs had suffered catastrophic damage. We held a small funeral, and Lauren was laid to rest beside Harry. Natalie, Lance, and I were overwhelmed with sorrow, but something didn't sit right. The eerie similarity between Harry's and Lauren's illnesses gnawed at me. I couldn't ignore the possibility that their deaths weren't natural.
My suspicions grew as Mary's behavior became even more erratic. She started going out late at night, sometimes not returning until the next day. When confronted, she would lash out in a defensive rage.
I'm grieving. Do you have any idea how much pain I'm in? I need to escape from this misery somehow.
Her excuses no longer held any weight with me or Lance. But the final straw came when Natalie found a hidden envelope in Mary's room. Inside were photographs and a handwritten letter from Lauren addressed to Natalie.
Mom, what is this?
The photos showed Mary adding what looked like a chemical substance to food and drinks in the kitchen. The letter was written in Lauren's handwriting and explained everything. Lauren had pieced together the horrifying truth before her passing.
If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer here. Mom was behind everything. She poisoned Harry, and now she's doing the same to me. I tried to gather evidence, but I can't fight her alone. Please, Natalie, tell Dad and Aunt Sasha the truth. Make sure Mom pays for what she's done. I'm sorry I couldn't keep our promise to always be together. Please stay strong and protect yourself.
Reading the letter broke our hearts. Natalie and I sat in stunned silence as the weight of Lauren's words sank in. Mom killed Harry and Lauren. Natalie, we have to tell your father. We immediately showed the letter and photographs to Lance. His hands trembled as he went through the damning evidence. This can't be real. I wanted to believe in her, even after everything. But this? Tears streamed down his face as he realized the full extent of Mary's betrayal. Thank you for showing me this. I won't let her hurt anyone else. Lance contacted the police and hired a private investigator to gather more evidence. Over the next few weeks, Mary's movements were closely monitored. It was revealed that she had been meeting with a man named Todd, her lover and accomplice. Todd and Mary had plotted to collect insurance money by poisoning their own children. Aimed with overwhelming evidence, Lance and I confronted Mary at the hospital after she gave birth. She looked surprised to see us, but quickly masked her unease.
Oh, Sasha, Lance, come meet the baby. Isn't she beautiful?
I couldn't bear to play along any longer. Beautiful? Just like Harry and Lauren were? Before you sacrificed them for your greed? I threw the photographs and Lauren's letter onto her hospital bed. Mary's face turned ghostly pale as she realized her crimes had been exposed. Just as she was about to protest, the door opened and Todd stormed in. You didn't think you could pin this all on me, did you, Mary? We did this together. Don't you dare throw me under the bus. Mary tried to backtrack, but Todd continued to reveal the full scope of their crimes. With the evidence and Todd's confession, Mary was arrested on the spot. She screamed and begged for mercy, but none came. Finally, justice was served. Natalie and I moved forward, and Lance adopted Mary's newborn daughter, naming her Mirai, meaning future. Together, we vowed to protect Mirai and honor Harry and Lauren's memories forever.